back, friends. Thanks for swimming with us and keeping us calm as we navigated the shallow Fakarava South Pass last episode.
Oh my god, this is so scary. I do not like this much water underneath it. I am panicking!
We're in the clear. That was it.
Today, let's keep sailing to Tahiti, where we have two girlfriends flying in.
All right, the girls have made it! Angie and Robin in the house.
But our windlass is broken. Can we fix it in time before they arrive?
Well, this is the biggest city we've seen since we've left San Diego, probably. I don't think we saw anything this big in Mexico. Lots of lights out there. I feel like an airline pilot pulling into Los Angeles right now. This is kind of wild.
Welcome to Tahiti. Waiting for the sun to come up a lot more.
Since the anchorage in Papayete is near the airport, it is advised to only enter after dawn and before dusk. Therefore, we did a few laps out front until the rays started to shine a little brighter.
Good job. You guys, it has been 2 months since we have heard an airplane.
We're in civilization now. Both of us started sneezing too. I think we're allergic to civilization now.
Beautiful Maria over there.
And check my social media.
Because we're back within 10 miles of land.
Loves me or not.
We are entering the channel, and in the USA, normally it's red right return, but here it's green. I successfully contacted Port Air Control in Papayete. I was so scared, but it's all good. He spoke English.
This is the end of the runway right there, so that's why they have you check in with the port authority, port control. Kind of crazy. A tall mast could definitely get clipped. Somebody dropped a big log this morning.
We made it to Tahiti, and it is so nice and calm, but it is so hot.
So hot.
So what are we gonna do? What do you think?
Traditions.
Tradition. Backflips.
There she goes, folks.
Yeah, I'm going with you. Here we go. Backflips now in Tahiti. How many?
And here I go.
But just as we found ourselves in another paradise with beautiful water, we had a daunting task looming overhead. Remember back in Fakarava when our chain got wrapped around this coral head? Well, it yanked on our windlass hard enough to make the windlass extra cranky. So now it runs very, very slow. So even though we wanted to play in the magical waters, it was time to get back to work doing projects in paradise.
Well, we decided to drop anchor at Tahiti because we needed to do this little windlass project. And then after the wind shifted, we found out these guys must have dropped about 75 feet of chain in 50 feet of water. Because we dropped 250 and we were like 150 feet away from them at first, and then as soon as the wind shifted that way, yeah, we're right on top of them pretty much. So I don't know what they're doing, but
They're also not there.
They're not there, and they're not dragging that we can see.
We're way too close. Look at our dinghies.
But by the time we figured that out, I had already kind of started this windlass project, so the oil's drained out of the gearbox. Since that's done, I'm not filling that oil back again until I get this done. So we're just gonna cross our fingers and hope we don't hit it. But this is the motor. And this thing has gotta be 35, 40 pounds. So hopefully we can find the parts we need here. But it does look a lot of little rust in there. So hopefully I can just clean this out. And something just got caught in the brushes. These are all the brushes that kind of keep the motor propelling enough for the windings to kind of actually get some power and turn this thing. But yeah, pretty cool little contraption here. I thought it would just be a normal little keyway there, but it's actually a little worm drive. And hopefully I'll just kind of dump all this dust out of here. And that's all that it was. Ooh. I wasn't expecting it to come apart like that. Let's see what we have here, folks. Do I want to do this? Yeah, we want to do it.
What just happened?
Well, that's the innards of the Windlass motor. We'll kind of inspect everything in here and see if anything's obviously messed up, and hopefully it's not. And hopefully this thing goes back together fairly easy. Good thing we were filming it, because now I get to refer back to this in case I forgot how anything went.
Normally that's the number one thing you got to do to fix things. Just tap them or hit them.
Yeah, a little, call it the Fonzie technique, you know? A little percussive maintenance. So as you can see, there's all kinds of crud that kind of came out of there, and some of that's got to be little metal bits that are conductive, and I believe if these get shorted, we lose power at least, if not kind of trip a breaker. So I actually did find a couple little chunks in between these grooves here that I was able to kind of pick out, and hopefully that was it. I'm gonna slap it back together before I dig any further, and we'll give it a go. There is also just a bunch of dust that's all got to be metal dust in here, that if anything was shorting, maybe that was the issue. So cross our fingers and hope this is it, and it just needed to be basically taken apart and putting back together again. I might actually throw a little vacuum brush down there and kind of try and clean up these contacts too. Well, after a couple hours of work, draining all the oil, taking that whole motor apart and putting it all back together all clean, no luck. So back to the drawing board. I still think it may be the solenoid, so I'm going to do a little voltage test on that. Got my meter. What I'm going to do is just test the voltage from the battery here, and then past the solenoid and what's going to the actual motor. And we'll see if we get a voltage difference from there. If so, then I'll replace the solenoid. Luckily I do have a replacement solenoid. I just didn't think about a replacement motor. I actually did, but they're $1,000 and it was kind of towards the end of the budget. Hopefully it's not the actual motor. I feel like everything looked really good inside of there. Hopefully it's not the gearing, even worse. But yeah, we'll get this figured out. Here, I'll show you guys kind of what it sounds like. This is the Windlass. We have very little tension on the chain right now, so don't think that that's why it's going slow. But it's just going about half the speed as what it used to, and it just sounds like it's really struggling. So I'm just trying to get ahead of it before we mess anything else up. And somehow we pulled up about 30 feet of chain so far, and we got further from that boat. I'm so confused. I don't know how this works. Here's the solenoid, and when I get this alligator clip on there, I see 13 volts on the meter, which is a little bit less than I expected, because I thought we were more at 13.2. What are we at out there? 13.1. 13.1. I guess we are a little bit low, but 13 should be plenty to run this motor. Now I'm going to switch that lead from there to here on the other side of the solenoid. And I cleaned up all these contacts earlier. I sanded them all down and then put some dielectric grease on there too, just to prevent any more corrosion, because I tried to bypass the solenoid. It's really hard to tell from down here, but tried to bypass the solenoid just by taking these lugs off, contacting them together. It sounded okay, but it took a lot of rubbing to get these to go through, so I thought it might just be a corrosion issue. So I tried that first, and then I kind of cleaned up all these other contacts just in case they weren't making good contact either. I think we may have found the issue. I got this handy little button down here where I can do it from inside the chain locker, and check this out. I'm only getting 11.2 past that, so it's got to be the solenoid. I'm going to replace that, and then we'll see how we go after that.
Hopefully you can hear me through all this wind. I'm not going to quite show you guys yet until I finish talking, but we just re-anchored. It's been a little stressful because, as you know, Connor's working on the Windlass, so picking up anchor takes us forever, and while we were picking up, it was like blowing over 20 knots, and it was just swinging us all around, and somehow we're just keep getting really close to some catamarans. So yeah, we picked up anchor. It was gnarly getting it up, and we re-anchored. So we were like in between these two catamarans. Now we're behind them. So we'll let you know how it goes. So far, we're looking good. My hypothesis is that when we anchored, it was very, very calm. So maybe we thought we were dropping it right in between the anchors of two boats, but they weren't being stretched. So who knows where their anchors were. But we ended up, as I dove the anchor, because we started getting so close to that catamaran, our dinghy was about to bump. Our dinghy was on the davits, and it was just about to bump one of the hulls of the catamaran. So I dove the anchor, and it turns out our anchors were pretty close. One was a little bit to the left, one was to the right, but they basically were like parallel to one another. So I don't know how that happened, but we were anchored. We feel good, and Connor's a little nervous to take apart the Windlass just in case if something like that were to happen again, but gotta do what you gotta do.
I'm definitely nervous to take apart the Windlass. I think we're set now.
We're set in this wind direction, but if the wind changes, who knows where we're gonna end up next to. Yeah.
Well, this might be a dumb idea because it's blowing 20-25 knots right now, but I got the whole Windlass taken apart. Not the whole thing taken apart, but got all this. This is the little clutch plate, and so I'm just going to smooth this out a little bit while I'm here. But everything seems to be operating fine in here. Everything looks fine, but even with it all apart and no resistance on it, it's still super slow. So I think the problem is down below. So I'll scuff this up and put this back together so we're not too taken apart while we're blowing.
What is this masterpiece you're looking at?
This is, I don't know what they call it, the diagram, schematics, blueprint for the Windlass. So I'm just trying to figure out where I can kind of take this apart. I think we did bend our main shaft, and that's why the motor's struggling. So it's kind of grinding a little bit of gears in there. It's actually doing pretty well on all the gearing in the bottom part, but I think somewhere along the line a bearing is probably smashed or something, and we got definitely a rough rotation for the whole Windlass, and so the motor's really struggling, and I don't want to run it like that for too long because the motor will burn out with that extra resistance. So yeah, just trying to figure out how to actually get this out. There's all kinds of gearing down here, and I'd really rather kind of not have to mess with all of that. And I'd really rather not have to bring the whole Windlass in to the machine shop. But I'm hoping that a good machine shop should be able to true up that main shaft, and then hopefully we can find bearings if anything's smashed or anything like that. But this is pretty much worst case scenario. So not stoked, but we'll get through it.
At least you re-anchored beautifully on the bright side.
Yeah, we don't have to worry about that for a little while, hopefully. Until someone else comes up and
bumps
right
into
next
us.
to us.
Yeah, the wind has settled. We've rotated completely around and we are anchored beautifully, equally around everyone. So however long it takes Connor, that's all right. We're anchored good. And I checked the anchor, dug in. We're going nowhere.
We were pretty bummed that our windlass wasn't working and we had another project once again in our hands. We almost started feeling sorry for ourselves, but we looked around and realized how lucky we were. Not only were we in a beautiful area, we were in Tahiti, which is the most industrial island in French Polynesia, so we had access to anything that we may need.
It's time to work on the windlass again. This is day 3 working on the windlass, and I think I finally figured it out. We have a bent main shaft, and so the old owner, original owner, was kind enough to leave this whole schematics here, and I was looking through it trying to figure it out. And just kind of checking everything out. That's a set screw that needs to be removed. That's a key that needs to be, looks like it needs to be removed. That's the whole top part of the windlass here. And I was sitting here scratching my head trying to figure out what I need to take apart to get the main shaft out. I forgot to look right here at the reading, and it clearly states to remove main shaft, remove 2 set screws, number 34, and the shaft will pull up. Unless tight on bushing number 16. Key 44 comes out with shaft and clears everything. So that was the key that I was worried about, having to take apart too much stuff to get to that key, but supposedly it comes out and clears the whole shaft collar there. So we're in luck. And now, to get that shaft out, I did take those set screws out, and the shaft is still pretty stuck in there. So I sprayed some Corrosion X on there trying to free it up, but it's definitely not hand pullable. I was thinking about using a halyard or something to try and pull it up, but that's gonna pull it kind of at an angle, and that's you know, gonna increase the friction there. So what I've come up with is I'm gonna put this on the bottom. So if I wedge this in there and then put the whole thing back together, there's a nut on top. And with that extra space, potentially this nut will work like a gear puller and just kind of pull that whole shaft up and free it from wherever it's stuck. That's the theory. We'll see if it works. Here's what I've come up with, and this is a wrench we already have just to tighten the windlass. Yeah, I got a few threads on there, so that should be strong enough, and we'll just tighten that up and hopefully it'll pull right up. Going somewhere. Hopefully I'm not stripping this thing out. Getting a little easier. Hopefully it broke free. Starting to come. That was down all the way flush before, so it's working. Just gonna take quite a few pieces of plywood. Hopefully I have enough.
All right, my little legend, you've been up here for 3 days now.
Just working out, getting strong.
Getting tan.
This is how I got strong. This did not have the leverage I needed, so I ended up banging on some unistrut. Luckily that kind of fit pretty well there. Just had to pound that on with the dead blow hammer and get a little extra leverage for the whole thing. Yeah, so I ended up, this piece was a little bit too tight on the whole shaft. Drilling 1 3/4 inch holes through all these little 2x4s and stacking them up just little by little. I'd add a little piece in there and it worked. Well, it kind of worked.
Uh-oh, did it
I might
fall
have
back
to do
down?
one more. No, I just need to wedge a couple more things in there to get the last little bit out, but it's free pretty much.
Thank goodness you kept all those spare pieces of wood.
Well, there she
Oh!
is. All right. And just like they said, that key is still in there.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Yeah, so it's something you gotta be careful of not to lose, right?
Yeah. And he's getting serenaded all day today because it's the weekend.
Nice.
by all the little party barges out there. You love it? Show him your dance moves. While he's working, I decided to do a little project of my own. So we had, underneath these compartments, little bunks, we had a ton of food storage. So as you guys are aware, we provisioned a lot in Mexico. We have so many tortilla chips and salsa. I don't know what we were thinking. We don't really eat that many tortilla chips. I wanted to go through and make sure everything, the dates were okay, nothing was expiring, and there was no bugs anywhere. And just doing a little inventory. So basically our whole list of all the things that we still have. And yeah, we just want to be aware of what we have so we don't buy more of it, slash, like I know we have some beef jerky, aka steak strips. I'm not sure if we can bring that into Tonga or Fiji, so we need to like eat that. Also, we have canned chicken, and Fiji does not allow canned chicken, so we either need to give that away or eat it. Connor thinks we should relabel it, but we might play by the rules and just get rid of it.
So I think we're not in that bad a shape, and maybe this is more of a lubrication issue than a bent shaft issue. I do believe that the shaft is still bent, but I'm hoping that since it spins a little freer with the lubrication, that we will be functioning windlass once again. So I'm hopeful of that. But now, the one thing that I did is there's a key that fits into this end of the shaft, and that kind of just comes out with the shaft, typically. And when I was putting that in to get it and pulling this back out, now the key's stuck down in the bottom of this.
Oh my goodness, you're joking me.
So, it never ends, folks. It's really hard to see the bend, but if I had a super flat surface, I'm sure we could see the little warble in it and then try to correct it from there. We'll figure something out, but lubrication might work. We just might have to do it a lot.
Warble.
I don't know if you guys can see this, you probably can't hear this either, but this is the craziest acreage we've ever been in. Everyone is all going different directions. Our stern's over here. This is perpendicular to us. That guy's also perpendicular to us. That catamaran's completely the opposite way. A lot of current here. That cat just looked like it was going to hit the other cat. This is wild. That cat looked like it could have dragged back into us and swung back, but now it's straightening out. I don't know. So now, before I shove this new shaft, or this old shaft in here, we maybe will want to get one as a replacement, just in case this one has a warble, and I don't really want to kind of have to take it out to order a new replacement, because it's probably going to take some time. We have this nice schematic here, and I'm just kind of making notes, making little measurements with my calipers to make sure that we have all the precise measurements so that we could just get one machined in the States, because it's a little bit cheaper, and they will have the bronze. The guy here wanted $800, but he was going to make it out of stainless steel, 316L, which is a great stainless steel. And it might be super strong, but any stainless steel is a little bit more prone to corrosion than this nice old school Tobin bronze is what it's called. I don't know what the relation to silicone bronze is. I think everyone's using silicone bronze right now, but super nice metal. This is the brightest, most well-defined rainbow I have ever seen in my life. You can see all the colors like separate. It's incredible. It's the moment of truth. I've tried this windlass a little bit, but I have not fully picked up the anchor with it, so we'll see how it goes. It looks like it's been going a lot better, but it hasn't had any load on it yet. So here we go. You can see the chain's hanging straight down, so I'm good to go with this. It sounds so much better. It's just going about half the speed as what it used to, and it just sounds like it's really struggling. That's better than it's ever been.
So we are finally out on date night, and
see, I dressed up. When the stars make it drool, just like pasta fazool, you're in love.
you're in love.
If you're still watching, friends, comment amore below. One of our favorite songs to sing at dinner time, especially for date nights out. We sneak some alone time in just before my two girlfriends come into town. As soon as their flight lands, we dive right into all the hidden wonders Tahiti has to offer, like plane wrecks, shipwrecks, and the coral gardens sprinkled in between. See you next time, friends, and thank you for watching. We want to give a huge thank you to all our supporters. We so appreciate you and are amazed at your generosity. If you want to also help support our journey, check us out on Patreon. There's a link below in the description. Or if it's easier, scan your phone right now on the QR code that's right here on the screen. Now make it a great day, and see you next episode.